Hello there, it's Jay here from Jay's Vintage Junk, and today we're back on with the Decca RG-150 restoration. And as you can see, I've pulled the chassis out of the cabinet and we've got the chassis up here on the bench. And I've just basically got it rigged up for a quick test, if you can listen. I've got it just connected up to an old modern speaker like that.
All over to England to
just gives us a good way of getting a base before we start replacing any of the components in here. So as you can hear, it really does work quite. This is on medium wave at the moment, and it works really well. You know, we can.
It's not been that inspiring. Welcome to.
You hear, it picks up plenty of stations. It sounds actually quite good, it's reasonably sensitive. Let's try long wave just as a quick. That's all gone to long wave. Now we are picking a bit of interference up from some of my lights there. Can't switch the other one off unfortunately because it'll go into pitch blackness here, but we should be able to pick. We've got some French stations there.
In the coming 2 weeks, the E3.
There's Radio 4. So we're picking a few stations after night. It's about 10 o'clock, half 9, 10 o'clock at the moment, so we are picking a few extra stations up.
I think they can, and I think that the Trump administration needs to.
Bit of French there. So that should be radio. I think we got RTE Radio 4 around there when we played with it in the living room, but I think that's probably a bit of interference from some of the compact fluorescent lights that I've got up here. Anyway, we're going to switch off now. So we've just got a good base there. We actually know it does work really quite well for, and this is the thing, just switch off. We'll unplug, and let me just show you this. We have a look underneath. This is another wonderful thing. This is a Decca product, and this was probably quite low end in the Decca product range, being that it's for 62, it's mono only. It's only got long wave and medium wave. Because obviously it's it's one of their lower end radiograms. But just look at the quality of the chassis. I mean, we've got proper handles here for actually holding the chassis, for allowing you to service it. This is proper quality. I can turn the chassis on its side like that and I have no worries of it falling over. I don't have to perch it on anything. I don't have to worry about it. This chassis is designed to be repaired. It's designed to be serviced. I can literally put the chassis in any orientation that the engineer would need to service it, and it sits there. It's not going to fall over. I want to work on the bottom of it. I can turn it over like that, and it rests on them, and I can work like that. I can get to everything. I can take test points. I can do whatever I want. This is what I like about like high quality products like Decca products. This is when electronics was still made proper. This was made to be serviced. This was made to be repaired. So let's see, and let's have a look what we've actually got in here. And the most amazing thing is it doesn't actually look like any components at all have ever been changed in this thing. It looks like it is literally all original. Which I'm absolutely marvelling how well it sounds, considering it's still got all its original Hunt's mould seal capacitors in here. Now, we've got a disc ceramic there, and in fact I think that may be the only component that's been changed. The only reason why I consider that may have been changed is all the rest of these are done properly. As in, the wire is looped through the tag there, it's crimped over and it's then soldered. That little ceramic there has just been laid on the tabs, and I think you can actually see where there's been an older wire there that's been cut off and that's been soldered in place. So that does look like it is a a later replacement. It's also rated at 5K, 5,000 volts, which there shouldn't be any components in here really that are rated over like 300 or 400 volts, with a possible exception of like one of the tone correction capacitors, which sometimes can be a little bit on the higher because you get a bit of transient on it. But let's have a look what that is there. I have a feeling that I'm not actually sure whether that going leaky would cause an issue. I believe that is the grid stopper, what they refer to as that capacitor, 0.5 UF, and it is one of the old Hunt's mold seal capacitors. So if that goes leaky, basically it turns the output valve hard on, and it damages the output valve, and it can damage the output transformer as well. So as a definite, we're going to change all these old Hunt's capacitors in here. So that will be going, that one there will be going, that one there is on the tone correction side, but even so, I mean that shorts and it's just going to perhaps kill part of the tone control. But even so, we will replace that. We'll put a new one in there. We've got, well, that's a diode there. We've got another one there. And that's really it. These little polyester capacitors like that, I have never seen one of these go bad. So we won't bother changing them. And I don't think they're in anywhere which is going to cause a problem anyway. So our only really, of the capacitors we need to change, the paper capacitors this is. It's that one there, that one there, and that one there. So that's not many capacitors need changing at all. And we're also going to change the main smoothing capacitor, which obviously, as you know, is it's that there. It's basically three capacitors in one can. You've got three 33 UF capacitors in one can there. And we have got a little bit of hum on this. It is over 50 years old, and that smoothing capacitor there really will be at the end of its life now. So unfortunately, I've just checked my stock and I don't have any. I thought I might have 3 left, but I haven't. I must have used them. I've only got 47 UF left. And as we're doing this right, we're going to use the correct value. So I've just ordered a new lot of 33 UF 400 volt rated capacitors. So as soon as they arrive, which hopefully will be in a day or two, we'll actually crack on with doing the work on this chassis and getting this chassis absolutely perfect and as we want it. So we'll replace that single can with 3 single 33 UF capacitors. So that'll sort that issue out. So we'll change that cap down there, we'll change that one there, we'll change that one, and we'll change that one. We will check a few of the resistors, just make sure they haven't drifted high or low, but with the way it's playing, I honestly don't think there's anything wrong with any of these resistors. We'll also test a few of these once we've taken them out and just see quite how leaky they are. But I've never come across any of these old Hunt's mold seals that have been any good anywhere. Even in like transistor radios where they use like these, usually you'll find that they are failing. The interesting thing with these ones is usually as well, they start to crack. You see little cracks appearing in them, and I have had it before now where I've literally just touched them like that and the case has dropped off and just left the insides of the capacitor connected to the legs. These ones actually, and it's probably why it's still actually working and sounding as good as it is, they don't appear to have cracked. So they usually start seeing them cracking at their seams there, and it can be a bit of a pain actually, because if it's cracked and that's fallen off, you've actually lost the bit that shows the value. So then you have to dig the circuit diagrams out, or hope that you can get a meaningful reading off by measuring the capacitor. But like I said, in this case, they are all still in reasonable condition. So we'll be doing that in the next video. Also, just look at this chassis. I know I keep going on about it, but this is how chassis should be made. Hang on, let me just disconnect the test. Smooth the test speaker out of the way for now. We've got a nice, lovely layer of dust there, as you can see, which all this is going to get cleaned off. This is literally just. Oh, it stinks of air freshener as well. It seems to clean to everything. I can smell it on my fingers. But just look at the chassis. This is painted. This isn't just like a bare metal chassis. This has got a coating on it, under the dust it's like a grey paint. It looks absolutely fantastic. It is really, really well designed, well, for such a budget piece of equipment. Like I said, it wouldn't have been dirt cheap because it's Decca, but it certainly wasn't one of their top end products. They certainly did a stereo VHF radiogram of very similar style to the one that I'm working on. This obviously was like a cheaper alternative, but they didn't skimp on the quality of this chassis. It's really, really well made. A decent sized power transformer there, so it is a proper isolated chassis, 3-core mains cable, and this mains cable is original and it's in absolutely perfect condition. I may change the plug and just put a modern plug on it, but let's just check. I mean, I should have checked this last time I worked on this thing, but let us just double check. Yeah, oh, look at that. That's what you want to see. Now that's a correctly wired plug with an original vintage VT 3-amp fuse in it. I mean, there will be no problem with me leaving that plug on. It doesn't come up to modern code, and really, I will change it for one with the little insulation on there for peace of mind. But that's wired correctly. It's got the correct fuse in it, which is not something you see. I've probably checked that previously. I can't remember. It was many years ago that I actually worked on this last. But the cable is certainly in absolutely perfect condition. There's no point or reason to change that. It's the old colour codes, but that's fine. Like I said, it's in good condition. It's not cracked. It's not broken. Why change it? It's part of the original radio, and like I said, there's no reason to actually change that. Back onto the chassis, we've got an original Mullard EF89. That's probably original to the radio. We've got a original Mullard ECH81. We've got a Mullard EZ80, I think it is. I think it's an EZ80. It could be an EZ81. It's very used. Like I said, it's obviously run hot because all the lettering's worn off it. We will test it. I always just test just to be on the safe side, but I think that's probably going to be alright, even though it has had a fair bit of use. We've got really good quality valve holders in here. Really fit on. They're not like the cheap Paxilin ones you find in cheaper products. These are good quality valve holders. We can see from in the past it has had a replacement ECL82 output valve. This is a Pinnacle branded valve. I think most of these come from Eastern Europe, and they were rebranded Pinnacle. Pinnacle was like one of the cheaper replacement valve stockists, and I think they bought the valves from wherever they could get them cheapest over the world, branded them Pinnacle, and sold them in the UK. And obviously it'll get tested. I have no doubt there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. Like I said, we will test it just to be on the make sure for peace of mind, but it has had the output valve replaced in the past. We'll slip you back in there. Tiny little output transformer, but it still gives, like I said, it still gives a really good account of itself. So all that this chassis is going to need is a damn good clean. We'll get all this dust off it, get it back to factory fresh the best we can, and we'll probably leave the chassis pretty much as that. An interesting thing I have found is this here. It's got a little, it says on the back, tape recorder. And we've got a 3.5mm jack there. And I will probably be able to rewire that to be the line output from the turntable to allow him to connect it to this new, the new modern system that they have in the house. So hopefully I won't have to drill any more holes or modify the case or anything. We can actually utilise that to do what we want. Anyway, like I said, I'm going to leave it there for now. This was just a quick little overview showing I've got the chassis out, what condition it's in, and it is in like really super condition. The next video on this will be when them electrolytic capacitors have arrived, and we will change that single 33 UF can capacitor for 3 single 33 UF can capacitors, and we'll do that under the chassis to keep the appearance, and we'll just leave that in there for show. We'll give all this a really good clean up and get all the muck and rubbish off it. Obviously test the valves, just make sure that they are absolutely 100% and they're happy. And they've got good emission, you know, they're going to last for a fair few more years to come. and then we will get on to the fun task of changing out the capacitors that we need to change out on the bottom of here. We'll check the alignment on it. I don't think the alignment's really going to be off, because it does pick up plenty of stations and it picks them up nice and strong. But we will do, just for peace of mind, we'll go through the alignment on it. We'll make sure we're 100% happy with it, and that will basically be the chassis sorted and ready to go back in the cabinet. Then we obviously will have the turntable just to pull out and give a quick once over, sort out the cartridge in it, just give it a quick mini service, make sure we're absolutely 100% happy to it. We can put it all back together, and the owner should once again have a wonderful radiogram that they can enjoy for many more years to come. Anyway, like I said, I'm going to leave it there for now. I hope you enjoyed that little update on this project. So thanks for watching, and goodbye.